I love this page. This page is amazing. So here we are talking about the character quality of discernment. Oh, that's right. One thing about the character qualities is they would always have the character quality versus its opposite. And they would compare and contrast that character quality versus its opposite. So in this case, we've got discernment versus judgmental spirit. And says, before we see people as Jesus saw them, we must learn the difference between discernment versus judgmental spirit. And then they kind of say, okay, so if you discern, one who discerns will thoroughly examine himself before evaluating the actions of others. And judgment, one who judges will condemn others for their visible problems, but fail to realize that their attitudes stem from root problems which he himself has not overcome. Do you have any thoughts about those two things?
Man. No, go ahead.
Okay. I personally, I think, I mean, that sounds fine. You should, I think it's fine to say, hey, you're doing wrong, even though I do the same thing wrong. That's still a wrong thing to do. But, so I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily a requirement for saying, hey, this thing that we're doing, let's not do this thing.
Sure. Well,
go ahead.
Like the difference between discernment and judginess is one is Christian and one is not.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that meme of like, they're both the same picture. Like, do you want to judge people? Well, you better do it according to scripture. That is how you judge people.
Yeah. Wait till we get a little bit further on. Cause this discernment versus judgment comes up, and it's completely ironic how they end up doing this. But let's move on.
Okay.
So got section or number 2, one who discerns will check the accuracy of all facts and related factors before reaching a conclusion. Versus judgmental, one who judges will form opinions on first impressions or hearsay, and then he will look for evidence to confirm his opinions, even though the evidence may be out of context. And that sounds, I agree. You should do the discernment thing, not the judgment thing on this one. You should not judge people based on your first opinions of them. You should find out more information. Do you have anything to say?
Not really. Like that's obviously a pretty good thing.
Yeah. And then number 3, one who discerns will deal as privately as possible with the problems he sees. One who judges will publicly expose those whom he condemns. This censure may cause others to condemn him for having the same root problems, such as pride, lack of love, or a critical spirit. I think there's a time and place to expose people publicly.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a wrong thing with, it's wrong to do it privately too. You know, there's a time and place for either one.
Sure.
We got to go ahead.
I am always leery of the idea of any time a closed group talks about judgment or discipline happening behind closed doors, or like, let's keep this private, because that sounds like a cover up to me.
Well, no, that is a good point too. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, in the IBLP specifically, we do have examples of this being a problem. So for sure. We got a couple of things coming from chat. We got Deviant Outcast says it's freaking mind blowing that this is considered educational material in the US. I feel for you and everyone who's been robbed of a real education. I wouldn't say this is considered educational material.
It was?
Well, it was by a certain select group of people.
Of tens of thousands of people.
Sure. But in a country of 3 million, that's not a big sample size. I wouldn't say many people would consider it, consider this educational. Even when we were kids, and when we were kids, like it was the beginning of the homeschool phenomenon, and so like no one really knew what they were doing. They tried to cobble stuff together, and in some ways, it's gotten even worse now because like I don't know if you know the unschooling thing, but that's just wild. Let's see what we've got. Got a question from Panda 1869. How do you guys feel this affected the way you looked at people in the world? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go first.
Okay, so I don't remember feeling I know this had influence on me, but I feel like it didn't influence my views of people very much, to be honest. I feel like I kind of was resistant to a lot of the judgmental side of these teachings. What were your thoughts? Do you need me to read the question again?
Sure.
Okay, how do you feel this affected the way you looked at people in the world?
Oh, it made me incredibly toxic for a long time.
Okay.
Like I cringe when I think about the unfeeling nature that I like. I was a youth pastor and or equivalent, and like straight up told a kid like, yeah, you're in sin because you're bi. Like that's just a thing that God does. I don't know why.
Wow.
And like because like that's what I believed. That's what the Bible says. And the basing your judgment on scripture rather than on people gives you the inclination to remove the human element and not think about the consequences of what you're doing, which is evidenced with our current thing where all the Christians are like, we got to get rid of women's right to choose because that'll save all the babies, not even looking at the consequences of their actions.
Sure.
They're standing on a moral principle or what they consider to be a biblical principle rather than a human interaction and human reality. And I find that I am still struggling to make sure that I've deprogrammed myself from this.
So the abortion issue, like I would say that's one thing that where Christianity did influence my views of it. And really, so when I deconverted, I didn't change a lot of my I didn't change a lot of my views because like you talk about, you know, people's what they do sexually or what they do recreationally. I just never cared. Like from a little child, I just never saw why it mattered. And then
you were always the smart one.
So but the abortion thing, when I deconverted, my first thought was, you know what? I'm a dude. That's a woman's issue. Whatever the women say, that's what I'm going to go with because they're the experts in being women. But now, you know, I've even changed my views on that. I find the bodily autonomy argument to be pretty compelling on that.
Yeah.
We got one more question, then let's move on to the next page. How do you think this teaching affects the way you looked and continue to look at yourself today? Go ahead. I'll go ahead and go.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think this had a big effect on me. On how I saw myself. You know, a lot of people talk about how they felt guilty for sin or things that are considered sinful. I don't remember feeling that guilt when I was a kid. Like if I wasn't hurting other people, I don't remember feeling guilty about stuff that like I did that only affected me. So I don't think it really affected me that
That is
much.
so healthy.
Yeah, I guess I had some kind of innate bias towards not being sucked in or something. I don't know. But I did get sucked in, so because I believed some of this stuff a long time. And like so like with IBLP specifically, you know, they had this thing about music. And like I went along with it, not because I really believed it was wrong, but just because like it didn't matter to me, I guess. If that makes sense. Like if I wasn't able to listen to rock music, it didn't bother me. There was other music I could listen to. So I don't know. I know you had a big problem with the music stuff.
Did I?
I remember you getting really. We had conversations a few times when we were teenagers, and you were like, this music stuff is just really stupid. And,
it is.
Oh, I agree. I was just like, I don't see what the big deal is either way, really. But you know, I'm a bit of a conformer, and so like if I'm told by an authority, don't do this thing, and I'm like, I don't really see a reason why it matters either way, I'm probably going to go ahead and do it or not do it.
I'm quite the opposite.
Yeah.
As soon as someone tells me to do something, I'm like, why?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't go along with authorities if they're telling me, I'm like, that's the wrong thing to do. I'm not going to go with that. But if it just doesn't matter, I'm like, I don't care. I'll comply because it doesn't bother me. Let's see. Let's go on to the next page. Okay. How to develop the spirit. Oh, okay. This is what I wanted to get to. Like this page is completely wild, especially given the previous page where they're saying you should learn all the facts. You should make all the observations. You should fully examine everything before you make a judgment. So this is an activity you're supposed to do as a family. I'm just going to read through it.
All right.
As a family, drive to a busy supermarket. Park near the entrance so that you can observe from your car those who enter and leave the store. Try to be as inconspicuous as possible because it's creepy. They did not say because it's creepy.
No, they wouldn't say it.
Write down all you can for each of the following points. Allow 10 minutes for each point. Use the vocabulary words throughout your report. So, the first point is general observations. Things that are obvious and without question. Example, I observed a woman walking toward the store. I noticed that she was wearing a blue dress. I also noticed that she carried a large brown purse. I observed that the woman held the hand of a little boy and noticed the boy was crying. So that's your general observation. Now, We've got number 2, general distinctions. Relationships and conditions that are obvious from the initial observations. Oh, I know, Deviant. Seriously.
What?
She said, what the F? I was able to distinguish a father walking to the store with his 2 little children. I recognized that he was walking faster than others around him. I also recognized that the older child, a girl, was watching out for the safety of her younger brother. I do not see a difference between that example and the previous example. They are both just basically the same thing. There's no deeper level of knowledge or detail in either of those.
How do you not see that? Clearly, the lesson here is that men are neglectful of kids.
Well, I mean,
at the home.
I'm talking about the level of observation, not necessarily the examples, but the level of observation. We'll get to what they're getting to in these next ones. But the level of observation, those are the same level of observation for both of them. They're making a distinction that isn't there. Okay. Number 3, we've got specific perceptions, and this is where it gets wild when they just went over what discernment starts getting wild when they just went over what discernment is versus judgment. So, specific perceptions, inward attitudes that are reflected from outward evidences. Example, I perceived that a teenage boy was unhappy by the expression on his face. I ascertained that he had a low self-esteem of himself by the way he dressed and by his appearance. His eyes and dress allowed me to perceive that he had a spirit of rebellion toward authority. Um, and and this is just watching him walk into a supermarket. Like, there's no examining of the facts, no examining yourself. None of the stuff that they said you should be discerning. This is straight down the line, everything they said on the judgmental side.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what are you even saying here?
It is teaching you the biases you're supposed to put onto different people groups under the guise of teaching you biblical discernment.
Right. Yeah. Number 4, precise discernment. Basic needs that are obvious from the observations, distinctions, and perceptions. Their example is, I discern that the young woman walking toward the store has the attire of an immoral woman and needs to gain moral freedom. I also discern from the hardness of her facial features. Oh, we need to talk about that at some point. That she needs to overcome the bitterness towards those who have wronged her. Oh my God. I cannot, this is so wild.
Why are Christians so judgy? Well, they have a class on judginess.
I know, right? Oh man. So the thing about the hardness of her facial features, the IBLP had this thing where different inner attitudes would reflect on your face and like etch themselves on your face in your facial features. And so like they I don't know where they got that from. I don't think it's at all valid, but yeah, if you had a certain face or had certain facial features, it said this is what your attitudes are. All right, and so now we got the last point, mature comprehension, because we've done all the discernment, we've done all the discerning. Now we know exactly what's going on.
Right.
Understanding the causes and relationships between outward symptoms, inward attitudes, and basic needs, and suggesting steps to remove the root causes of problems. Their example is, the little boy does not honor his father. Perhaps the father has broken the boy's spirit by disciplining him in anger. The father could overcome his anger by yielding his rights to God and developing a meek and quiet spirit. He could begin to heal his little boy's broken spirit by recognizing how his anger has wounded him and asking his boy to forgive him and pray for him to be the father that he should be. And that is what you can ascertain by watching him walk from his car into the supermarket. I mean, I don't even have words to describe how screwed up this is. I do not. And like, it's right down the line, exactly what they said. This is what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Do this, don't do this. And it's all don't do this stuff. Right down the line.
Right, but the purpose isn't to make people not, like, the actual purpose isn't to make people not judge. The purpose is to make them judge based on the things that you want them to judge on.
Right, for sure. And it's that and feel like they're doing it the right way.
Well, yeah, and for the like, you're not being mean. You're just like these poor people.
Yeah.
If that guy would just change everything about himself to be just like me, his life would be better.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. All right, I think that's the end of resource C.